Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome along to the opening round of the TCUK 2024 season, powered by VCO. We are here at Kent's finest. We are here at Brands Hatch for this opening round. Now, those who were with us 2 weeks ago will wonder, hang on a minute, we did the opening round. We did have some difficulties when we tried to kick the season off at Donington Park 2 weeks ago. So we're doing it all over again. So that event sadly was deemed was written off, basically. So we are reopening the season here at Brands Hatch. My name is Chris Buxton. I'll be one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities and for the season up ahead. And Alex Newman joins me in the commentary box. Welcome back, Alex. It's going to be a good one.
Good evening, Chris. Thank you for the amazing intro. Yeah, obviously with round one last week, I keep forgetting it's every 2 weeks, round week previously, unfortunately had those circumstances that you did mention earlier. Hopefully it will be better than it was, obviously previously, and hopefully it's going to bring even better racing than we saw 2 weeks ago.
Indeed. So Gianmarco Verducci was the victor of the opening round we had 2 weeks ago. So he'll be looking to continue his winning ways. We'll head over to the grid. You can see in the background qualifying is actually still taking place. It started very slightly late. So qualifying yet to conclude for the first of our three races tonight. So we can have a look at, I think qualifying has actually, or is drawing to a close, so we will see the grid allocations. So this is what everyone is running. We won't run through all the names because there's a lot of participants in this series, but all manufacturers represented. The eyes you can see are independents, so solo runners in this particular event. So not every single driver you see from every single team will be running every single week. For instance, we don't have Ty Cuthbert with us in number 88 Quartermass car. He is unfortunately injured, so not able to join us for this event. Occasionally stand-ins, so one member of the named crew you can see will stand in. There is no available stand-in for Ty this week, so he misses out on what is going to be a fantastic race. I love Brands Hatch. It is a wonderful circuit, although it does contain one of my arch nemesis corners. Turn one, Brands Hatch, that's where we are. Graham Hill Bend is Paddock Hill Bend. Well, Graham Hill Bend is challenging as well, but Paddock Hill Bend is. I've binned many a virtual lap into that particular set of dust. What are your thoughts towards this circuit, Alex?
It's such a nice track, though. It is probably one of the UK's finest tracks. But saying that, there is so many good tracks in the UK, and you're completely right. If you have obviously lapped this track, either virtually or if you're lucky enough to do it in real life, Paddock Hill Bend is probably going to be, as you said, your arch nemesis for probably the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got such a sharp descent. Enough to leave your lunch behind when you come over the crest. And these cars have been bottoming out and really getting fidgety when they hit the bottom, which is not entirely unrealistic either. Having been to Brands Hatch, I've seen many a car crack the deck, so to speak, and get very, very unsettled as a result. And then you got this big rise up to Druids, one of the few braking zones this circuit has, and down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend, through Surtees, then McLaren and on to Clearways, through Clark Curve, and then back towards the line once again. We are seeing sub-minute laps by quite a considerable distance. 45 and a half seconds are our top times, which we're seeing, and it is the Veloci number 46 of Gianmarco Verducci that is again topping the timesheet. It was Daniel Hurlock that was top in the practice session. And here is how the grid looks. So there is, as mentioned, Gianmarco Verducci on the top step with Daniel Hurlock in the number one RSR car. Alongside in row two is Ryan Elliott and Daniel Kell in the next RSR and then the first of the Kell Amity Motorsport cars. Then row three, Thomas O'Leary and Chris Shepherd in the Ritters & Co. and Epic Racing cars, respectively. Callum Cripps in another of the Ritters and Racing cars, alongside Jordan Richardson, the Vapor Shield Racing number 52, take on row 4. Callum Wilson in the Treble 4 Ritters and Co car, alongside Ross McGregor, our lead of the independents, in the number 3 Marlowe Watch Company Racing vehicle. He's in one of our Honda Civics, is Ross McGregor. So he will take on row 5 alongside Callum Wilson. Bruno Reno and Cedar Via will take on row 6 in the Grow Racing and Brabham Motorsport cars, respectively. Jack London in the next of the Calamity cars, alongside Luke Mitchell in the Lunark number 21, will take on row 7. Alan Christopher in the Quartermaster Motorsport number 72, alongside Mitch Marie in the Calamity Motorsport number 16, will take on row 8. Phil Morby and Ben Willis, both for Drake in the 14 and 85 cars, will have row 9, alongside Cameron Brewster in the next of the Drake cars, alongside Matty Arlington, rounding out the top 20 in the YTF number 28. Still more cars to go through. Stephen McCready alongside Alan Smith on row 11, with Aaron Markham and Samuel Dowman on row 12. Ben Bennyworth and Matthew, I'm making up names now, Nathan Croak taking on row 13, with Joel Belto at the tail of the field and the number 84 car. So, very short laps, a big grid of these great touring cars. There's going to be a fair bit of bumping and banging going on, let's be honest. Touring cars and Brands Hatch is a match made in heaven. Yeah, this is going to be spicy.
100%. What I was also noticing when you were reading out the names, all the way, I believe, is up to P20. Every car was within a second of each other. Obviously, it is a really short lap, so it should be like that either way. But that just shows you how competitive this field actually will be for tonight, and obviously how narrow Brands Hatch actually is. It's going to be close, to say the least.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So here is our full sponsors, guys. So the full array of competitors that have entered into the season. I say not all of them with us this event, but yeah, we remarked on this before. The liveries look absolutely incredible. We had some. I seem to remember we had some debate over what was our favorite ones, and I can't even remember which ones I picked out, because I think every time I tried to make my mind up on something, I changed my mind.
Yeah, that happened a fair few times.
Yes, it did. Indeed. Now, one more thing that we will cover is tyre allocations. So they have medium, soft, or priming options available to them. They over the course of the 3 races in any event, they can only use the option or the soft tyres once. So most people look like, looking at the allocations we've got, have gone to take the option tyre in the second race. Not many taking the option in the first race. So only about half a dozen drivers have gone. So the drivers taking the option tyres, bearing in mind they have to declare this before the event begins. They cannot decide mid-race. It has to be before the event starts. So the drivers taking option tyres in the first race are Dan Herlock, Mitch Marie, Chris Shepherd, Aaron Markham, Jordan Richardson, and Callum Wilson. So in this race, they will have a bit of an advantage raw pace-wise, but with the kind of very twisty nature of Brands Hatch, I would think this is going to be a bit of a tyre muncher. So we will see whether that advantage really pays off for them. We did have some real mixture of grids last time out with the tyre allocations as well at Donington Park. So we will see if it makes a difference. I think most drivers have opted to have their option run in race 2, although quite a few have opted for race 3 as well. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. What are your thoughts on these cars, Alex? I mean, I'm pretty sure we talked about this last time, but for those that maybe didn't see us in our broadcast 2 weeks ago, what would be your chariot of choice from this list?
Yeah, we definitely talked about this last time, and it was 100% the BMW 3 Series. Just first of all, it looks very great, and it's also probably one of the better performing cars on the grid, in my opinion. But one thing as well to note is you were just talking about the tyres. I would prefer to, obviously, it's all down to people's opinions here, but I would use the option tyres in race 2, because even if you qualify bad in race 1, obviously we are going to see chaos, and unfortunately it is going to happen. It happens everywhere. But yeah, options in race 2 is probably one of the better options, because you will have a better advantage with obviously the grid being formed where you finish the race.
Yes, great point there, Alex. We'll cover that shortly. Let's have a look at the schedule for the season ahead. So, like I say, we did try and run Donington Park last time out, so that now moves to the 4th event on the 24th of July. So we are kicking things off here in Kent's finest. Then 2 weeks' time will be Silverstone. And Then 2 weeks' time, again, is one of my local tracks, Thruxton, absolutely superb. Lots and lots of right foot going on at Hampshire's finest. Then we try again at Donington Park on the 24th of July. Then it is the summer break, so 2 weeks later there is no race there. And then we return for Oulton Park. Again, you want to talk about the home of touring cars, that is most certainly it. On August, then Croft and Snetterton in September with Donington Park GP, its full version, and Silverstone National in October. Rounding out, returning back here, a full GP layout at the end of October to see off what was shaping up to be a fantastic season based on what we saw 2 weeks ago at Donington Park.
What I also just personally love is I came from ACC from everything, so seeing tracks that you don't usually see, it's just going to make it a whole lot better. And obviously Thruxton as well being my local track, even though it's still 2.5 hours away from me. It's probably one of my favourite tracks, and I'm not sure if you saw what happened on the BTCC on the weekend, but it does just serve brilliant racing, that track, and it always will do.
It's an amazing circuit. I've had the great pleasure of working there several times, and it never fails to entertain. It's such a great place. I was there a few weeks ago, and I got absolutely boiled in the primary commentary position, which I remember my first time ever actually to Thruxton. Bearing in mind, it is actually a functioning airfield for small aircraft. And I remember I was chatting to some people in the paddock, and there was an aircraft coming to land. I swear the thing was about to hit me in the face. Because literally the paddock is right next to where these small planes will land. So all the locals are looking at me as if to say he's going to duck in a minute, and I did. even though the aircraft is like 30 feet above me. But hey ho, never mind. We are not talking about Thruxton, we are talking about Brant. So yes. So the cars are now lining up on the grid, ready for race 1. Now, you mentioned earlier, Alex, about how the grids work for race 2 and 3. So we've had qualifying session that decides the grid for race 1. It's the finishing result from race 1 that dictates the grid order for race 2. And then it's the same again for race 3, except there is a random grid element for the third race. It says either the top 6, 8, 10, or 12 cars will be reversed. That is decided at random. It's decided off air. In between races 2 and 3. So we will get notified of that when that is available. So those that maybe have a bit of a rough run in race 2 might have the opportunity, they finish in that top 12 at least, might have the option of starting towards the front. So I love reverse grid races, mainly because I'm pretty bad at racing myself, so I had half a chance of actually starting somewhere near the front. But reverse grid races can be very divisive. I get the argument that some give that it artificially creates racing or puts people in that don't deserve to be towards the front, puts them in the front, and lots of people are trying to come past. I personally really think it spices up the racing. It gives a real variety to the type of action that we see. I love it personally.
I also do. It is kind of obviously an opinion, if you like it or not. Usually the faster drivers don't like it because they start at the back, but obviously it offers them a challenge as well. But it's also could be quite dangerous because I'm not going to say entirely in this league, but obviously the drivers further down are going to be the drivers that are potentially more of the incompetent drivers. So it is going to be a bit more difficult for obviously them to manage being able to defend that from the faster cars that would have been behind them.
Okay, so we can see the rolling lap is now taking place. This is not a rolling start. They will reform on the grid. So it is Gianmarco Viducci in the number 46 car that will be leading Dan Herlock through now Graham Hill Bend. Now, they're giving it plenty of wiggle going on. It is the march of the Beamers up front. As you can see, the top 3 cars at least are those beautiful BMWs, or what they ended up being in practice, the bouncing BMWs, because when they bottomed out, it wasn't just them, but the Beamer does look a little bigger than the rest, or visually it does. So they're a bit longer wheelbase, and they might struggle a little bit more with that kind of bottoming out effect. But yeah, they got really fidgety coming through paddock here. But yeah, we see you, Ryan. We saw you. Maybe he's waving up to us. He's waving to the camera. Hello to you too, Ryan Elliott in the number 66 car. So now the field reforming. We'll soon get race number 1 underway. Oh, I saw that. Sorry, Dan, we saw it. Right, so just waiting for the rest of the grid then to find their spots. There we go. There we can see the back of the field just finding their particular position. Then we'll get race number 1 underway. 24 laps of Kent's finest await us for the first race of the night. Gianmarco Fiduci looking to continue his winning way from last time out. Good to see some participation in chat, making known who you're here to support. We will look forward to cheering them along with you as well. So once everybody is in, and away we go. That looks like that's a terrible start from Ryan Elliott. It looks a pretty good start from Dan Herlock, drawing alongside the Italian. Look at Dan Kell flying through up into 3rd position. His superb start in the number 89. Gianmarco Fiduci under pressure as he's having to go very defensive into Drew Zabima on the outside line. Dan Kell looking to get involved in that lead battle. What a superb start from Dan Herlock. He's flirting with the grass on the way down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend. Now Dan Kell having a look on the out, what's going to be the inside initially, coming up towards Surtees. Oh, that was so close to impact. Just had to bow out of it, but what a start, Daniel Kell.
That was probably one of the most intense starts I think I've ever seen in racing. We did see Fiduci managing to keep his position on P1, but we do see Ryan Elliott behind him in the BMW, still being able to keep up with him. But going on to lap 2 now, we do see a bit of breathing gap is being created between Fiduci and Herlock now, but we do see going further down the grid, it does seem that he's got to be able to believe that's going to be McGregor going for a little lunge, going into the inside line, going through Drew. I'm not sure if he gets it done. He's still side by side going into Graham Hill Bend now.
Yeah, so much jostling throughout the field. As you can imagine, there is Ross McGregor in the Civic, trying to do what he can to improve his position. He is currently in 9th position. There he is, car number 3 to the right of the shop, just bouncing. You see how the cars are bouncing around. Brands is a fairly bumpy circuit, and these cars being so heavily sprung, they do not like bumps whatsoever. But right behind McGregor, you can also see in 11th place, that's Callum Wilson getting the move done on the inside line before the braking zone of Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, it was right. That's Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, goodness me. It's been a long day. Well, we've only just started to get the racing underway. Oh, that looked a little bit deep there. That was Shepherd, I think, that was going a little bit too deep in the number 24 car, but does manage to keep the car on the straight and narrow. And the lead has changed. Gianmarco Fiduci bouncing over the curb once more, coming up into clearways. So the lead has changed. Dan Herlock in his BMW wrestles the lead from the Italian.
That looked like Fiduci must have made a mistake, because he was able to create such a big gap originally going on to lap 3. Now that being changed, going on to what was clearway, it did seem that Fiduci was a bit desperate to try and get a by with the bumping going into clearways. But now we do see he is just trying as hard as he can with 20 laps of racing left to go to try and get this move back done, to try and get out of the Challenger Cups once again.
A bit of a yellow sector one again. You see Gianmarco Fiduci just flirting with the grass on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. That's never going to help. Momentum always very, very key in these circuits. This circuit not quite so much, because you have got a lot of braking zones in this circuit. Despite the fact that there's only about half a dozen corners, you're not on the right foot for a huge amount of time. So you're constantly accelerating. Dan Herlock now with the new fastest lap of the race. 45.821 that he has just put on the board. So it's Herlock from Fiduci from Kell. So 2 BMWs then. The first of the focuses. A little bit further back, there's Jordan Richardson fending off the advances of Tom O'Leary. They're coming up into Druids now. The lead of our Honda Civics fending off another one of the BMWs. Then slightly behind them, you've got the first of the Infinities. That's Chris Shepherd with Callum Wilson right behind him. Again, a fair amount of dust being kicked up from some of our drivers who had some difficulties. It looks like McCready has had trouble and had to retire from this race. But the top few starting to spread out. But here's Dan Herlock, who's, as I say, king in practice, was pipped to that pole by Fiduci, but now has himself, was a second in the lead at one point. It's just about hanging on to that gap from Gianmarco Fiduci, which, based on what we saw in Donington, that is quite astonishing.
It is astonishing, but I have just looked at the tyre allocations. He is on the option tyre, which
yes.
I'm not sure if Fiduci is as well. Looking at it, Fiduci is not on, so it is going to be, like we saw at Donington, if Fiduci's going to be able to gain that time back when Herlock's tyres have died, which we will start seeing potentially in the next maybe 7 to 8 laps.
Good point, well made there, Alex. You've got Dan Herlock on that option tyre, so he has got the grip advantage for now. But nearly 3 seconds between Fiduci and this battle that we're looking at. Dan Kell has got himself a little bit of breathing space from the battle for fourth going on between Jordan Richardson and Tom O'Leary, with Chris Shepherd and the spectators. Oh, that's a few people flirting with the dust on the outside of Paddock Hill Bend, but they are saved just in time at the braking zone for Druids. Then you've got Callum Wilson, the last of this particular queue, that are all in this conga line trying to better their position. The man under all the pressure at the moment is pretty much Dan Kell. Not a lot of distance between himself. Was that Wilson? Have a look at Shepherd coming up into 30s. It was Callum Wilson up into 6th. Yes, he got the move done in his BMW.
It's a brilliant move, though. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of it, but carrying on with it now, Jordan Richardson seeming to be under a bit more pressure now from Tom O'Leary in the Richard & Co. BMW from behind, going on to lap 8 now. Still lots of racing left to go for 2 of these drivers. Can we see now Jordan Richardson still being able to hold on for this position for the rest of the race now as we go into Druids? He is all over the rear of him now. He wants to try and get by as quickly as he can, because he can see P3 is still in sight, as we can see Dan Kell is still in sight there going into Graham Hill's Bend. Now he is starting to lose time. Every one of those drivers going onto the grass just for a fraction of a second, but it's just so risky doing that in sims like R Factor 2.
Very, very true. So we actually have a replay of the aforementioned overtake. Let's have a look at that, assuming that we're not going to get another one on the start finish. So this is how the lead changed between Fiduci and Herlock. So it's coming through Paddock Hill Bend, and Herlock just gets a slightly more comfortable exit. Fiduci tried to shut the door, but there was already a BMW in it. So that's how the champion from last season took over the lead of the race. But are his tyres beginning to die? Because I noticed that gap is shrinking between himself and Fiduci. And look at this. Look at the 2 teammates in the middle of this particular lineup. Tom O'Leary and Callum Wilson. Are they going to challenge each other? Or will O'Leary let Wilson through if he is the quicker of these 2 particular Beamers? We will see as they come back up through McLaren into clearaways once more. Dan Kell he has got himself about half a second gap between himself and the Civic that leads the 4-car trail behind. Now Wilson having a go, but that looks like it was an open door purposely left by Tom O'Leary. So the 2 teammates working well together. That just manages to shut the door on the Infinity of Chris Shepherd before he was able to sneak through. And then is Cal in trouble? There's a bit of desync going on there. That's an unfortunate sim racing quirk. So the Honda trying to make the move on a car he wasn't entirely sure where it was. Now that particular issue is resolved. Very close, coming down through Paddock Hill Bend, the Graham Hill Bend. I did it again. All over the road, trying to find a way through on Dan Kell, but the Focus just able to close him off. And no, Wilson, opportunistic move. The Honda was unsighted, barrels his way on the inside of McLaren into clearways. Nicely done. And now Tom O'Leary trying to make the same move with Chris Shepherd. They're going to go 3 wide. Oh, coming up into Graham. Did it again. Paddock Hill Bend, nearly 3 wide. They have sorted themselves out. They remain in the same position they were. But my goodness me, Richardson's under all kinds of pressure.
Brilliant racing, but it was so expected. When you're battling that hard for a position, it's almost like greed at that point. You know there's cars behind you that are trying to get that position just as much as you want it, and that just unfortunate lack of security and defense that he had going in to that corner just lost him that position. Now as we do see another Richard & Co. car trying to get past us, we do actually see there's been a change for P3 there as Dan Kell goes down into P4 as Wilson goes up into P3 now, going on to the 3rd podium step. So we do actually see once again the Richard & Co.'s BMW all over the rear now of Richardson in the Honda as it goes down into Paddock Hill Bend. Now it's not going to be any sort of change just yet. It's all going to be down to who gets a better exit here. We could see a Fiduci move once again with Herlock, but it doesn't seem so. But we have seen, actually I've just noticed as well, Fiduci's got by Herlock once again.
I wonder if Herlock's tyres are gone, because now it's half a second to the Italians' favour. The Velocity Racing 46 has gotten up into the lead. There they are. I wonder if Herlock's early pace is pushing early on those softer tyres has bitten him a little bit, as now, well, unless he has made one sole mistake that has caused that to say, there's still 6 seconds down the road from the great battling that we have just been party to. Big slide there from Herlock coming up into Paddock Hill Bend. So that's not going to help his tyres in the slightest. Also, Callum Wilson is on the softer tyres as well, so that has really helped him get through that particular lineup. It did look like there was a bit of lag there for Dan Kell that potentially helped certainly sealed his fate out of the podium spots. But Dan Herlock, has he got anything left? Is he going to have to back off, let his car's tyres cool down, which is near impossible at a track that is almost constantly corners here? There's not really a straight. The only straight that really is actually straight is Cooper Straight. Brabham Straight is so named, but it's not actually very straight in the slightest. So you're always turning, and particularly the outside too, the left-hand side. Oh, a bit of an impact there between Jordan Richardson and Chris Shepherd there. It's no harm, no foul. It would look like the Honda wasn't quite sent off into oblivion. That's actually cost Chris Shepherd now, because here comes Callum Cripps in the next of the Richardson Co BMWs. Gets the inside line, gets a position up into Druid. So this pack has grown even more now.
It is starting to see that way, as well as what is concerning though, as well as actually now we do see Shepherd once again trying to retaliate on Cripps for his position back after the unfortunate events we did see for him earlier. But obviously Herlock being on those option tyres, it's only just under halfway, as we can actually see it's 10 laps left, and he's already lost the position, and he might actually potentially lose it again to Wilson. But actually does look like the gap is growing, so it's something to keep an eye out on with something like that. But it does seem now the gap between the BMW now, as we can see, it's Callum Cripps and Richardson is starting to increase again, so it's going to be a bit of a breathing space between these two drivers once again.
And Cal's lost another spot there. There goes Tom O'Leary through up into 4th position. So the Focus losing out now to the BMW. It's the top 4 all belonging to the German mark. Beamer it's looking particularly favourite here at Brands Hatch. Won't always be the case. Different cars will have different advantages in different circuits, but it does look like it is the day of the Beamers for Brands Hatch at least. But Tom O'Leary through on Dan Kell. Dan Kell still with some breathing space to that what is now a 3-way fight between Richardson, Cripps and Shepherd right behind. Ross McGregor's not too far back, but will he be able to close in before the checker flag falls? We will see. But that gap up top, yeah, Dan Herlock falling away in quite a meteoric sense, really, because he did lead by fairly comfortable gap, and now finds himself 2 seconds and growing behind Gianmarco Fiducci. Will Callum Wilson be able to catch the RSR number 1? We will see. But Callum Wilson also on those softer tyres, so he will be facing the same kind of tyre degradation as Shepherd gets very close to the back of Cripps, coming through McLaren into clearways, but not able to make the move just yet. The BMW feeling the need to defend the inside line all the way through Clark. Has that given him the run on the Honda? Look at that! Well, a slightly unusual line coming out of clearways has given the Beamer the run on Richardson, and the Richardson's gone too deep and tries to close the door on Shepherd. Now the Infinity gets the inside line coming up into Druids. Can he hold on to it? It's going to force him to the outside line for Graham Hill Bend. My goodness me, Richardson having to fend off advances from all over the place. Does lose out just 1 position at the moment, but a flash of the lights as well. Yep, we saw you. That's a wave to the camera. And then, wow, goodness me, through on the inside before they get to the braking zone of Surtees comes Shepherd. So that's 2 positions in the same lap lost for Richardson.
Now that was such an odd move that we did see there. I didn't expect that to go onto the Brabham Straight going into Paddock Hill Bend, but he got the move done, and it definitely was worked pretty efficiently though. But we can see Fiducci and Herlock now with a 2.34 second gap of a lead now. Just shows you that race 2 actually with the option tyres, where the majority of 13 drivers using it, could be quite a big advantage for the people who are on the prime tyres.
Well, that being said, but also I just realised Shepherd and Richardson both are on those option tyres. I wonder if Jordan Richardson is suffering heavy tyre degradation at this stage. So obviously we saw Dan Herlock's looking like he was really struggling with his tyres by the halfway stage, as now our leaders are catching up with some of the back markers in the race. So Oh, flirting with the dust again is the charging Italian. So I wonder then how that's really going to spice up the next couple of races, because of course a significant percentage of our drivers running the option tyre next race. So yeah, they'll be able to get that initial run on the medium runners, but they're all going to squabble with each other. Are they going to be able to break away from the medium starters to any significant degree before their tyres go off, and then the tyre advantage switches back to our medium runners? That is going to be a fascinating one to watch as Gianmarco Fiduci comes around a complete lap 19, 5 laps to go.
100% with that in mind as well. It doesn't seem like we have too many battles, but now I say that, we do actually see Shepherd and Cripps once again at it as well. As we can see, it's going to be Dan Kell 4P5 with only 5 laps remaining now. Can he actually get past him? It's not much time, but seeing how Callum Cripps has been able to perform earlier into the race, I reckon he does have it into him. But can we see Dan Kell be able to defend it again, as you'd like to mention, flirting with the dust there, going into what is going to be Paddock Hill Bend there? But no, Callum Cripps just still all over the rear of him, but needs to be very, very cautious of what can happen if they battle too much. We can see Shepherd regain the position which was originally his of P6 now as they go down into the Cooper Street. Now, nothing seems to be happening too violently just yet. It's all seeming to be too civil, but now going in to clear ways, it does seem he's got to try break a bit later, but nothing seems to work for him just yet, and he has to try again into the next lap with 4 laps left to go.
Here comes Callum Cripps again. He's been so strong on corner exit, particularly coming out of clearways, challenging Dan Kell, coming up into the braking zone of Paddock Hill Bend once again. The Beamer just getting that slide on to get through the corners. He seems to be working really well. Look how defensive Kell had to go on the run up to Druids. Had to really heavily shut the door on that charging BMW. So Richardson's not out of it either. You see in the Honda just at the top of the shop. And look at Chris Shepherd. He is really trying to get that Infinity number 24 past that big old Beamer of Callum Cripps. Not able to do it just yet. So Chris Shepherd, again, as a reminder, he is on the option tyre of this particular group. Has he allowed his tyres to cool off again? You can see the picture-in-picture, another battle going on. That isn't Richardson. That is slightly further down the field, indeed. So that is, I believe that's Luke Mitchell in the Lunark number 21. We can see having to go on lead independent of Ross McGregor. They're coming up through Paddock Hill Bend themselves. That's side by side as Mitchell tries to get the cut back. Oh, it's an impact between the two. Little bit of banging going on between the two. These are touring cars. They can take it. And they live to fight another day down through Graham Hill Bend. They come as this great three-way battle continues as we're now on the penultimate lap of the first race of tonight.
It has definitely been an interesting race to say the least, but it's definitely not over yet as we can see Callum Cripps trying to go for a move onto Dan Kell. It does look like he ruined his opportunity there, as now we can see Shepherd just looking behind him, trying to look for any sort of mistake that Callum Cripps might have made going into the penultimate lap, and now and just try to use it into his advantage. It does look like he was trying to lunge for the inside line there going into Druids. It's not going to work for him just yet. Again, we're in the same position as we have been for most of the race for these three drivers. They're all just pretty much neck on neck with each other, all on the rear of each other. But now could it be potentially Shepherd's time to get this move done, as it does seem now going back on board with the McGregor battle here. McGregor having to just try hold off for one more lap. Can he do it, or will we see the Infinity now of Mitchell get by as well? We can also see London lurking in the background, looking to collect any scraps if he can.
Very true. Final lap of the race. Gianmarco Fiduci leading the way by over 5 seconds now up front. Look at this. Now that's a back marker that is staying very much out of the way of this charging three coming through for 5th place. Kell Cripps and Shepherd again just runs a little bit too wide, trying to keep that momentum, trying to get any advantage he can over Callum Cripps to try and usurp him from that 6th place, and has yet not paid off for the Infinity runner. We'll see then how that's going to come up. But your winner for race number 1 here in Brands Hatch is the Veloci number 46 of Gianmarco Fiduci, continuing his winning ways from Donington 2 weeks ago. Then it'll be Dan Hurlock, his initial pace just not holding beyond the halfway stage, but coming home in 2nd nonetheless. Then being chased home, Callum Wilson 3rd, Tom O'Leary 4th. Dan Kell fends off the advances of Callum Cripps to hang on to 5th position. Cripps in 6th, Shepherd in 7th, Jordan Richardson 8th. Ross McGregor holding on to 9th. It looks like Mitchell made a mistake as he's suddenly down in 15th place at the end of that. So Ross McGregor 9th. Jack London in 10th position with Adam Christopher 11th. Ben Willis 12th. Mitch Murray 13th. Callum Brewster 14th. Luke Mitchell finishing in 15th position in the end. Phil Morby coming home in 16th place with Cedo Fire in the Brabham car coming home 17th. Matty Orlington 18th. Samuel Dowman 19th. Bruno Reno in 20th. Alan Smith 21st. Joao Belto in 22nd. We did lose a few bit of exuberance driving into the pit lane entrance there for Gianmarco Fiducci. I think the steward would be a little bit unhappy if you did that, but a little bit of racing liberty allowed in sim racing.
Fiducci now having it all to play for, now being out of the Challenger Cup. Obviously, he would have been out of it last race, but obviously all of that being now classed as null. But now he is once again out of it, and he is technically leading the championship. But for how long? We might see, obviously, some unfortunate events going into the next race. Not trying to curse him at all. That is the last thing I want to do. But that is just racing for you, and it's so unpredictable on what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely true. So as the last of our competitors are coming up to just finish their runs, then the grid for race number 2 will be formed. As we said, where you can see certainly the top 20, the top 22 were just displayed there on the board. So Fiducci and Herlock on the front row. Let's have a replay of the start then, that storming start. So you see Wilson got a really slow start, and Dan Kell, lightning start, really propelled him up. And Dan Herlock using his tyre advantage early to try and usurp Gianmarco Fiducci. You can see the car's getting really twitchy. The tyre's not quite up to optimum temperature. And also the car's bottoming out, particularly the BMW seem to be struggling with that a little bit more. Or we just see the BMW big more. Dan Herlock just doing some lawn mowing on the way down towards Graham Hill Bend. And then Dan Kell having a look, almost got second position, may have even nosed ahead very slightly up to the 30s. But Dan Herlock keeping his nerve and his foot down to keep that second place. This is how the lead indeed changed. So the number 1, just how big a slide, the car getting really, really unsettled. Coming into the braking zone for Paddy Gilbane. You saw there Gianmarco Fiducci just bounced a little bit, costing that tiny bit of momentum, and through into the lead went the number 1 to secure that top spot for the time being. And this wonderful fight we had for, what was at the time, 4th, I believe. No, this was the 5th. That's the 2 Richardson Co. BMW swapping around. That was Tom O'Leary moving aside for Callum Wilson. That was Jordan Richardson having a look on Dan Kell, which sadly, Richardson's tyres then fell away. Then Wilson with that wonderful banzai on the inside coming up into clearways. That was a superb move. Now this is where Jordan Wilson's tyres had really fallen away. That great moment where we thought for a minute there was going to be 3 wide coming up into Paddock Hill Bend. They did kind of sort themselves out. And there was that tap. It looked quite dramatic, but both cars managed to just keep themselves on the straight and narrow. Then you saw the next of the Richardson Co. BMWs coming through, which I believe Callum Cripps at this point. That's where the Affinity lost out, and that was another loss of position there for Jordan Richardson. So it was a shame because as his tyres fell away, there was nothing he could do. It was this lap he lost both those positions, running a little bit too deep through Paddock Hill Bend. And you see Chris Shepherd just elbowing his way through the inside line of Druids, because the Hondas has got no answer. Manages to nose back up ahead into the braking zone of Paddock Hill Bend. Ultimately lost out on that one. This was the fight between McGregor and Mitchell. That's where it went wrong for Luke Mitchell. God, did it go wrong for the Lunart car? That's going to skew him right into traffic. Goodness me. So he was very heavily wounded at that point, but that was the moment that Gianmarco Fiducci reaffirmed his position at the top. There it is. This is before Stewart's intervention, of course. Gianmarco Fiducci taking the win. Dan Herlock 2nd. Callum Wilson 3rd. Tom O'Leary 4th. Dan Kell 5th. Callum Cripps 6th. Chris Shepherd 7th. Jordan Richardson 8th. Ross McGregor, the leader of our independents, in 9th, with Jack London in the end taking his spot on the top 10. Further down, we had Adam Christopher 11th. Ben Willis 12th. Mitch Murray 13th. Cameron Brewster 14th. Luke Mitchell We saw that somewhat dramatic exit from stage left coming into Paddock Hill Bend for the Lunark Infinity in 15th. Phil Morby 16th. Sudovaya in 17th with Matty Oulton in 18th. Samuel Dowman in 19th with Bruno Reno rounding out the top 20, the lead of our Vauxhalls. Alan Smith 21st. Joao Belto in 22nd. We lost in the course of the race. Aaron Markham for RSR. Nathan Croak for Craven Racing. Ben Bennyworth for Quartermass. Ryan Elliott, another of the RSR Beamers, and Stefan McCready in the Pixel 8 Esports in the Ford.
Now, with that all in mind, that is going to be the starting grid for next race, so it is just going to make it another step more interesting for Juicy being able to have the advantage of once again having P1. Can he do the same thing where he had such a good start like last time? Looking at the tyre allocation sheet, he is still going to be on the prime tyres for this race, and he is going to take it for the third race, so it is a bit of a let's just say one of the more interesting options, to say the least. It is probably, thinking about it, it could be a good way of just trying to preserve wins, because going on to the third race, you don't know what's going to happen, knowing the randomized chance that the top 6 has.
Very, very true indeed. So, whilst people love that gravel trap, it's not a safe place to be. As I've been there many a times in the virtual world. Okay, so quite a few drivers running the option tyre. The biggest percentage of our drivers choosing to run their option tyre in this next race, in the second race of the night. So, drivers running the option tyre this time are Sudovaya, Ross McGregor, Phil Morby, Luke Mitchell, Matty Allington, Jack London, Nathan Croak, with Callum Cripps, Ben Willis. Ty Cuthbert would have been running his option tyre were he here tonight. Alan Smith, Ben Bennyworth, Jeffrey. I don't think Jeff Fournier is actually with us, and Steph McCready are also running the soft tyre for this event. So a significant percentage of drivers running their option tyre this time. I reckon, though, that if the soft runners fight very, very hard, as, let's face it, they're going to, because racing drivers, all the medium runners have to do all they have to do, like it's going to be an easy task to stay on the back of any of these drivers. They're all phenomenal drivers. They will have the tyre advantage swing to them potentially earlier than some other circuits, but again, we will have to see whether that actually proves to be the case. Ross McGregor said in the top time in this practice session he would love that to be representative of his race pace, but he is one of the soft runners. That was a 46.0 he's just put on the board in this quick practice session, just making sure everything's still working. Beautiful liveries, absolutely true. We kind of went over this last time, last time out.
We'll happily go through it again.
We'll happily go through it again, because they all look absolutely spectacular. And I really struggled to pick one. I can't even remember what one I picked last time, because I changed my mind so many times.
I think you picked Quartermass.
I think I did go Quartermass in the end, but they're all brilliant. You were a bit more decided on that, if I remember.
I wasn't just... you put me under the spot again. I can't decide. I've got a top 3 in mind.
Yeah.
But I can't narrow it down to one, because it's like saying you have a favourite child. Well.
Oh, you wait till you have your own. I am a parent. I can make that comment. Yeah, I really struggled. The Quartermass one does look really, really good. Obviously, we are currently looking at Gianmarco Fiducci in the Soul for Locci entrant. That's a great livery. They're all brilliant liveries. The Quartermass one was I think if I had gun to head, I would have chosen that one. But yeah, the Lunark a livery from Luke Mitchell. We did see, sadly, exit stage left. That are well timed their production. Our Sol Brabham entrant. I'm a big fan of green, as that is my favourite colour, and also that British Racing green S with that gold stripe down the middle. Very, very fetching. There's another great livery as well, as we see the Epic Racing. That is Chris Shepard. He doesn't have his stablemate Jeffrey Fournier with him in the 97 Infinity. Yeah, they're all fantastic liveries. Great effort from our teams. It helps us as well, though some of them are very, very different. Very, very similar. Like the Calamity cars of Mitch Marie, Jack London, quite similar to the YTF colours as well. Matty Allington, for instance, it's all black underlay with different. That's not how you enjoy the scenery. It's Brands Hatch, sir. Chris Shepard now deciding to explore the scenery and then reappearing in the holding area.
I just think, though, R Factor 2 just has really good livery textures, and I think that's what definitely makes the liveries look just a notch better. But if I had to choose down to 3, it would have to be the Richard & Co livery, the RSR livery, and the Veloce livery. I'm sorry, but that's my top 3. I'm probably going to have a lot of backlash for that in chat, but hey ho.
Yeah, the thing is, if we're trying to choose like gun to head, they're all absolutely brilliant. There's no two ways about it. So we're just waiting for the session now to tick over. There we go. We've just seen the weather actually just spontaneously change. I'm still doing so. So that's the server transitioning to the next session and forming the grid as per the race results from race number 1. So we're just going through that transition now. I'm trying to go through that transition. We've seen a few people pick their own interesting viewing spots out there in the Kent countryside. This is a track I've only been to it once. It's Brands Hatch, but it's, other than it being a little bit difficult to get to, it is a great circuit. And honestly, that drop there, Paddock Hill Bend down before you then come through into Pilgrim's Drop or through Pilgrim's Rise, is honestly, you don't realise just how steep it is until you are actually there. The external cameras really don't do it justice. Very much like the mountain up at Cadwell. That is, I actually walked up that. Now, let's just say I'm not a small bloke. I am somewhat rotund. And one of the marshals sort of looked at me and said, "Oh, do you fancy walking up this?" And I thought, "Oh yeah, it can't be that hard." It is. I was absolutely, even though it's obviously not very long, but it's. I can see why some cars or bikes in particular actually get hurt when they come over the top. It is very, very steep. I
think it's the same with a Rouge Radion though, because I was lucky enough to go to it last year, and oh my days, I think I wanted to only do that once or twice. That it's painful.
Yeah, well, I could believe that. Actually, I'd love to one day go this far. I see there's discussion going on about the Craven livery. Yeah, absolutely. I say they're all brilliant. The Craven one is that sort of orange base tone with the purple on it as well. That is a great livery there. Number 48, Nathan Croak, in that one as well. We're currently enjoying the sights of the Richardson Co. BMW, giving it plenty of slidey ways. That's the problem with going slidey ways through Paddock Hill Bend. You are really tempting fate flying off into the dust.
Now, you asked me this question last time, so I'm going to ask it right back at you. What is your weapon of choice
my
for
chariot
racing
of choice?
in TCS? So, yeah.
It's the same as you. It's the BMW.
Oh, okay. That was a bad question.
Oh, no, not at all. I stitched you up. So, with it last time. So, the limited amount of racing I've done, that's not an ideal one. I did tend to go with the BMW. I haven't raced these particular entrants, so I may well have gone a different way, but I am a little bit partial to the BMW in previous touring car iterations. So I would certainly have. That would have been my first choice. Were I entering this, I'm not really quick enough to enter into a series such as this. So I would have been certainly tempted to go for the BMW again.
Brilliant choice. I'm not biased at all in it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No commentators.
So we're just waiting then for the. There we go. We have now transitioned over to the second race of the night. So again, it is a one rolling lap. It's not none of the races are rolling starts. So Here we see then Gianmarco Fiducci leading Dan Herlock once again. Callum Wilson right behind him with Tom O'Leary starting in 4th. Dan Kell not too far behind in the number 89 Calamity car. Callum Cripps alongside him on row 3. Chris Shepherd and Jordan Richardson will be on row 4 with Ross McGregor and Jack London in row 5. Adam Christopher and Ben Willis for row 6. Mitch Murray and Callum Brewster on row 7 with Luke Mitchell and Phil Morby row 8. Cedar Vire in the Brabham car alongside Matty Allington on row 9 with Samuel Dowman and Bruno Reno on row 10. Alan Smith and Joao Belto row 11. Aaron Markham and Stephen McCready row 12. And Ben Bennyworth and Ryan Elliott on row 13. They may well be towards the back, but they will still give us a great show nonetheless. Now, keep an eye out for Callum Cripps in the number 69 Richardson Co. BMW. He's the lead car starting on soft tyres, and we saw how much of a difference that made in race 1. So I somewhat expect him to do pretty well this time. Plenty of wheel spin going on from the aforementioned BMW.
I think the worst thing you could ever see in it is someone spinning out. That's a way to embarrass yourself.
Yeah. Or doing what I did once when I was trying to act as the safety car, and I wasn't paying attention to where I was going because I was watching the crew behind, and I went off the road. But yes,
we'll talk about that.
That was me. So then, the grid doth form, the engine revs doth rise once again, the adrenaline pumping. Time to get race number 2 underway. Can Gianmarco Fiducci do 2 for 2? And away we go. It wasn't a great start, actually, from the soft shot Callum a little bit further back. It was a superb start from Shepherd, though, being forced into the pit lane exit on the run down towards Paddock. And again, Herlock challenging Gianmarco Fiducci up into... Oh, that is very close. I know what a touch between the two. Herlock being forced onto the grass to, as the aftermath of that, as they now come down towards Paddock Hill Bend, Graham Hill Bend. I will get it right one of these days. Look at Cal again. He's had a storming start as he did before. Started 5th, already challenging for his spot inside the top 3. And again, it is Fiducci and Herlock breaking away. Cal up indeed into 3rd. Someone was very deep. That's one of the Richardson Co. BMWs that's gone to the grass. And that's Shepherd that's gone onto the inside line. That's gone horribly wrong for the Infinity.
That is not been as civil as race 1, to say the least, as we do now see Fiducci starting to create a tiny bit of breathing space for himself. But we do see Herlock just trying to catch up as quickly as he can, as we do see as well a few of the drivers as we really go forward going into Paddock Hill Bend there. Luckily, it is still civil, as there was a bit of flirting with the gravel, as we could say, as we do see now the Infinity trying to go for the inside line going into Druids. Doesn't work from just yet, as we still see the two Coopers trying to go side by side going into Graham Hill Bend, but they still all go single file for the time being. But there's a huge piece of contact there, as we do see that's going to be, I believe that is one of the I'm not sure who it is, but he's gone as well, as we do see the Infinity's gone absolutely chucking into the hairpin there, and he's vulnerable.
Oh, he's a passenger at that point, isn't he? He's trying to slow down, but sadly all coming undone for him. So Fiducci starts to break away a bit from Herlock once again. Oh, goodness me, who was that? Oh, was it Mitch Marie that was having trouble early on? Was he the one that exit stage right? Bruno Reno is in the pits as well, so there's a couple of cars involved in that early fracas. But it's Fiducci from Herlock, from Cal, your top 3 at the moment. Callum Cripps up into 4th. He's the lead of our soft starters at the moment. He may be opting to take his own. Yeah, Chris Shepherd we saw involved in that big incident as he came to rest on track, just coming through McLaren. But Gianmarco Fiducci continuing his impressive pace, and another fastest lap. Surprised is no one. Again, no disrespect there, but his pace has just been untouchable in the first couple of races. We are looking at slightly further down the field. That's Cedar Vire in the Sol Brabham entrant, chasing one of that's one of the Quartermaster cars. That's one of the liveries I was waxing lyrical about earlier on. Sam Dowman at the tail of this 3-car train in his Honda, trying to do something against those he is having a great old scrap with. That is, what is that a battle for? Cedar Vire is in 12th, so there's a battle for 11th place. Slightly further out, there is the 69 car of Callum Cripps. So starting to utilise his tyre advantage now, getting onto the tail of Dan Kell. As you see the picture-in-picture, that was the battle we were just looking at. That's the battle for 11th place with Adam Christopher, Cedar Varia and Sam Dowman. So what can Callum Cripps do here? He's been really strong on corner exit. That seems to be where the BMW really holds advantage. Went to go for that inside line, but Dan Kell saw him coming and slammed the door very, very firmly in his face.
Now, this is where he needs to be really careful. Cripps obviously being on the softer compounded tyres, not being as aware as, let's say, Daniel Hurlock or Fiduci with how quickly these softer tyres actually wear out compared to, obviously, the medium tyres. Will he just try to get past this position without being aware of the consequences of tyre wear? So it does seem now going on to the Brabham straight. He is going to try to go side by side going into Paddock Hill Bend. He is going to go for the outside line. There's a bit of contact between both of them, but you do see Dan Kell still has the inside line going into Paddock Hill Bend. Is there going to be a switchback between them both? No, they both stay civil, but we do see there is a car back there. I believe that was Richardson going into the gravel there, but going back on board with them two now, as we do see now going into Druids. This is going to be the Richard and Co car of Cripps, just not being able to get that move done just as quickly as he would wanted to.
Yeah, well, Dan Kell did a brilliant defensive masterclass there, putting himself in every position that BMW wants to be in. Callum Cripps is going to have to think of a way of wrong-footing the Ford ahead of him, which is no mean feat, because Dan Kell has been pretty strong in that car all night. So it's going to be a difficult task for the BMW to get the Ford out of... Oh, blimey. That was a late switchback there for the BMW. Gets the inside line for Paddock Hill Bend. Does he have the momentum? A bit of a punch in the face for the Ford. Gets him onto the dust. But that does get Callum Cripps up into third as the Beamer 1-2-3 at the moment. Now he needs to use whatever is left in his tyres to chase off after Dan Hurlock, who's staying just about in the tyre tracks of Gianmarco Fiduci. That gap not growing as quickly as it did in race number one, but not too far behind Dan Kell. Jordan Richardson in the Honda, with Jack London now up into sixth. Ross McGregor up into seventh as well in his Honda, with Tom O'Leary at the back of this particular conga line.
This is where I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Callum Cripps losing this position in the next 3 or 4 laps when we do see those tyres drop off there. But we do see now the Brabham Esports car trying to look past the move on the quarter mass car going in to Paddock Hill Bend. Now he goes for the outside line, never usually works going into this corner. It is just such a difficult corner to get right, let alone going on to the outside line. But we do see now he's going to try to go for the inside line, going through Druids. There's going to be contact between both of them. The quarter mass car getting a bit of a sacrifice punch there going into Druids, and it's going to unfortunately lose him the position there.
Bit of a late option to try and defend. Once again there from who was it? Sidovai was going up against. That was Adam Christopher, I believe. But the position gain there. Another fastest lap then from Gianmarco Fiduci. He's seen the challenge that Dan Hurlock was trying to mount a little bit further back. We see that is Jordan Richardson, the number 52, fending off the advances of Jack London. So Jack manages just to get inside the top 10 in race one. Now having a look on the inside line, coming up into Drew. It's a bit of a touch between the two, but well recovered there from the Honda. A bit of a hip check as well. They stay on the black stuff just about side by side still as they come through Graham Hill Bend. Ross McGregor smells blood in the water as well. He goes to the inside line on London. Oh, that's the impact between them. That's London and McGregor that have gone off. Oh my goodness me, a big moment that sent both of them off towards the wall.
That was such an odd way to crash though. It looked like they had space between them both, but obviously not. That's going to be, unfortunately, potentially another 2 retirements from the race, unless they keep going for the rest of the race, the next 13 laps that we still have of racing now. But on board, which I believe is going to be Richardson, trying to catch up once again with what is going to be Dan Kell in front of him in that Ford. But we do as well as see that it is going to be Tom O'Leary, the other Richardson Co. BMW 3 Series, trying to get past Richardson for position. We've seen this before. We'll probably see it again. All of these drivers getting very, very rowdy. It looks to be a lot sparser than we did see at the end of last race, but there is still so much time left to tell on what will be the finishing positions between all of these drivers.
Absolutely true. So here we are still enjoying Jordan Richardson, Tom O'Leary. A bit of a Mexican standoff between these two, waiting for one of them to either make a mistake or make the move. And then you've got right behind them the Lunart car of Luke Mitchell, So he's had a pretty good run up to 7th place at the moment. You got Phil Morby and Cedo Vaya now locked in a battle for 8th place. A little bit further down the road, just at the back of the shot. Actually, just saw Cedo Vaya. There he is, picture in picture, committing to the inside line. That is Cedo Vaya on Phil Morby, both of them on soft tyres. And the Brabham Esports number 2 gets up into 8th position as a result of the move. The BMW thinking about a move, is he? Not quite, coming up into Surtees. Thinks better of that one, although he slightly wrong foots the Honda into McLaren, now into Clearways through Clark Curve. Now is that going to give the momentum advantage to the BMW? They draw side by side, and that's where the BMW has been strongest. His corner exit, he's got the inside line for Paddock Hill Bend. The Honda can't do anything about it, so that is a good move, and that is then 5th position for Tom O'Leary. I wondered if Richardson was going to have a look on the inside of Druids. Doesn't go for it, but Tom O'Leary, persistence paying off there, puts him into 5th.
Definitely. So Tom O'Leary now looking to track down Dan Kell for position in the Ford. There is quite a big gap between both of them. You can just see him on the last camera angle. We did just see, but we can just see how much of a gap he's already been able to create now going into McLaren and Clearways. But we do see going on to practically the halfway point of this race now that it is still pretty civil, and it does seem everyone has settled down just like the leader so far, as we can see now the leader Fiduci in the Veloce BMW now with a 3.4 second gap between him and Daniel Hurlock. So Daniel Hurlock definitely has a task on this season to try and win the championship.
Yeah, definitely much so. Oh, lovely battle, picture in picture there that is going on, and that's a contact between them. Goodness me, that's Matt Allington, I believe, that has just had a car introduce himself to his door. Ooh, they're getting very, very fidgety, going down into Graham Hill Bend side by side. Goodness me, that is getting very, very scrappy between these 3 cars, all vying for their own bit of real estate. They do manage just about to keep themselves on the straight and narrow. There you've got that's Sam Dowman in the middle of that particular group. So he's in 12th. So Matty Anderton ahead of Stefan McCready in the number 98 car, now ahead of him. Goodness me, didn't waste any time dispatching of the Honda on that occasion. So through into that'll be 12th position goes McCready. And then not far behind them, Callum Brewster is looking to get involved in this particular fight. So this is a 3-way argument for 11th at the moment. Cutting back up to this will be Tom O'Leary on the back of Dan Kell. So this is a battle for 4th place now with 10 laps remaining in our second race here at Brands Hatch. Now, what can the BMW do here? Does Dan Kell have an answer? So no soft tyre intervention between Dan Kell and Tom O'Leary. They're both on the medium tyres, along with the chasing. Oh, there's a back marker that's already behind them, and that is a move on the inside line of Druids. Nothing Dan Kell could have done about that. Tom O'Leary takes his car through to 4th. It's a Beamer top 4 now.
No, we do see a complete, 2-row lockout for the BMWs, but can we see Dan Kell try to get this position back? It just seems though Tom O'Leary is on fire. Will we start seeing him try to interfere with his teammate? Obviously, Callum Cripps being on those soft tyres will have died off by now, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if we start seeing those gaps decrease like flies there. As now we do see the Honda of what is going to be Dowman trying to get past now Adam Christopher in the Quartermass Cupra, but at the moment it's still being quite civil, still quite far away from each other. But when I say that, it seems everything does absolutely explode, so hopefully that happens once again. But does seem Adam Christopher seems to be a bit faster at the moment than the Honda of Dowman.
At the moment is the optimum phrase, and that is Brewster having a look. Oh, and that's very much having a look. Someone doing some lawn mowing. I think that was Sam Dowman being forced onto the grass there, and Brewster may have missed his braking point there. So either in avoidance or through force, the Honda did a bit of lawn mowing. That gives Adam Christopher that bit of a bit of breathing space. In 12th place in the Quartermass Racing number 72, and that throws Dowman and Brewster into the clutches of Smith and McGregor. So Ross McGregor, following that big incident earlier in the race. Little bit of an argument here going on between Mitchell and Jordan. That is, Jordan Richardson, I should say, for 6th position, and that is a pass then for the Lunark number 21. Nicely done. Luke Mitchell up into 6th.
Very, very well done there from the Infinity there of the Lunark racing car, but it's not over just yet. It did seem Richardson was looking to sneakily try to get that move back done. We haven't seen an Infinity this far up, and I believe we didn't see it at Donington. So this is the furthest up we've seen an Infinity. Can we see him progress any further? There is still time, not too much time left though. Him now being under pressure from Richardson, but he wants to try and get closer and closer to Dan Kell in that Ford that we can see ahead of him as we go down into Paddock Hill Bend now. It doesn't seem anything's going to happen between these drivers just yet.
Looks like we have an argument brewing for second. Cripps has caught Dan Herlock. There's only a tenth or so between the top two. Two of the top three, I should say. There we go, riding on board with Callum Cripps. And remember, he is on the soft tyres in the Richardson Code number 69. He is challenging. Look at the tail of the RSR number 1, getting all kinds of slideyways coming out of clearways. Gianmarco Fiducci continuing to set fastest lap after fastest lap, feeling the need or deciding just to do so to continue to open up his lead. The tail of that RSR looks so loose in every single corner exit. It could just be how it looks from a spectator standpoint, but that car looks like it's about to let go on him at any particular moment. And not far behind Callum Cripps is actually Tom O'Leary with Dan Kell in tow. So Dan Herlock, with his defensive driving against Callum Cripps, has really basically propelled them backwards into the clutches and potentially the 4th of the Beamers.
And also see the two Hondas going side by side. They go into Druids. Not sure if that was for position, but it does seem they both go through safely. But now going into Graham Hill Bend, it looked like it was a bit less civil between the both. But now we can see that's going to be Richard DeCo going with the RSR car going into Paddock Hill Bend. Does seem they still go in it, but we do see that's going to be the RSR car of Daniel Hillock going into the gravel there. Does he manage to keep it in a straight line? Yes, he does. He has lost the position now, unfortunately, there for him. But I am very shocked to see how his soft tyres are actually still holding up there, Callum Cripps.
Yeah, very much so. But look at the picture-in-picture, two side-by-sides as they come over the line, as they are now into the braking zone for Paddock Hill Bend. They are really scrapping there. My goodness me, Matty Allington, I think that is, all kinds of out of shape, getting into the braking zone for Paddock Hill Bend. That's Ross McGregor at the front of this particular train. So it's Callum Wilson behind him. That's Sam Dowman almost going onto the grass on the exit of Druids. So it was, I think it might have been Brewster that was wandering a bit too wide. Oops, and flirting with the grass once again. Then Dowman, Brewster's at the back of this particular field. So there is Callum Brewster in the number, no it isn't, that's Ben Willis, beg your pardon, in the number 85 car. So let's say, I think maybe him that was wandering a bit too wide earlier on in the proceedings. So this is a battle for 13th position all the way down to 18th. There's that many cars still involved in this particular fight with only 4 laps to go.
It is just nuts just how close TCUK racing can actually be, but we can see it's going to go side by side there between the Honda and I believe that was that's the Honda and the Ford there between them both. That's the Cooper, beg my pardon, sorry, my English girl, I'm going to let you have this one.
It happens to us all. Oh, and that's an opportunity there for the 85 car to get the run at Willis on Smith, is it? Oh, no such luck there. Alan Smith not settling for that one. That's one of the Craven cars that's still having an argument with Ben Willis. Now, who's going to win out here? Still side by side. Who's got the better momentum coming up towards Paddock Hill Bend once again? Well, it's the Craven car with the inside line. That's impact, and that's going to send into a spin. They're both off into the grass. And that's, over you go. That's never an ideal. You start seeing the underside of someone's car, you know someone's had a very bad day. Did get on all 4 wheels in the end. Oh dear. That's not, and this isn't even the reverse grid race. So a few things to iron out for some drivers, but that is not, and that's the end. That's another retirement there. That's a great shame. You never want to see it. That was shaping up to be a great race in the closing stage, great battle, in the closing stages of the race.
It's really unfortunate to see. That was, I think, quite exaggerated by RF2 physics on that crash, in my opinion, because I don't think it should have rolled over. The wind going off already is a bad day, but being on your roof is another bad day in general.
Yeah, very much so. And we will be having you can see the top of the shot there. The driver's coming through. There is our leader, Gianmarco Fiducci, nearly 10 seconds to the good now over Callum Cripps, who he's made his tyres work very, very well indeed. So nothing Gianmarco Fiducci needs to particularly worry about. He can just coast almost at this point and take the second victory of the night. Don't be wandering off the road, sir. A bit of a lag moment there that's caused him to disappear from existence. He's still going. He's absolutely fine. So another untroubled win for Gianmarco Fiducci. Well, he had trouble earlier on. He had to fight for it in the beginning part of the race. As we see, that's Herlock and Cripps having an argument. They had swapped round, so Gianmarco Fiducci will take the win, the second win of the night. But Herlock trying to get second position back once again. He's got the inside line coming into clearways. Can he do it? He potentially can. And is that going to be second for Dan Herlock in the RSR BMW? We'll see when the timing tower update. It may have been Cripps was able to hang on to that. It's currently showing that Cripps was second and Herlock third, although it looked a little different on the picture-in-picture there. So O'Leary fourth, Kell in fifth position, Mitchell in sixth, Via in seventh, Richardson eighth, Morby nine, and Allington rounding out the top 10. TCR cars, this is why we love touring car racing.
It is just great racing. It did seem, though, I'm very surprised on how far Callum Cripps' tyres lasted, because we did see obviously him having a battle with Daniel Herlock. Maybe I believe it was lap 18. I might be wrong there, but I'm just surprised how far his tyres actually lasted compared to the medium tyres that Daniel Herlock currently has on. But obviously it didn't seem to work going straight to the end of the race, and we did obviously see, I believe, I think Daniel Herlock taking the win, well, not the win, P2 in the end of that race there.
He was giving it plenty of slidey ways, so it could have been that he just left too much Pirelli down on the road. Other tyre brands are available. It could have been it was just having a bit too much fun out there as the car's now returning to the pit lane to finish the session off. And then, as I say, we will have our reverse grid element. So, as mentioned, a random number, either 6, 8, 10, or 12, is chosen by production in the background, and whichever number they pull out, it is going to be that many of the top 12 that are reversed from the race results that we have just seen. So that is going to be something to bear in mind. We'll wait for that to come up as we got some replays coming up for some of the action we have just enjoyed. There is the race start. So Gianmarco Fiducci, Dan Herlock again locking out the front row. It was a really good start from Dan Herlock. Just Gianmarco Fiducci not quite getting all the horses down to the road. And you saw there Shepherd getting forced into the pit lane exit very, very early on. And then through towards, Dan Kell again, does that superb effort from fifth place, challenging for third, which he got in the end. So wasn't able to hang on to it. This is where it undid itself for Dan Kell. It's a bit of a tap there in the face from that was Callum Cripps just trying to work his way through, but then Kell getting the momentum. Callum Cripps really had to work with this position. Bearing in mind, Callum Cripps had the tyre advantage over the four. It did take several laps of excellent defending from Dan Kell before the BMW of Cripps, and that was the move that really set himself up for the move, set himself up for the position. That sent the Ford a little bit wide, cost him the momentum. Through into third went Callum Cripps, and he pretty much wasn't seen again until he challenged Dan Herlock for second place. There was Jordan Richardson in his Honda having pretty much fun with everyone. It's fair to say. So that was the touch. That was Jack London that just got the back of the Honda. A bit of a punch in the face as well for good measure on the exit of Druitt. And then you've got Ross McGregor right behind. So this is where it went a bit wrong for McGregor, unfortunately. The 36 slightly unsighted sent them both. It looks like McGregor actually managed to avoid going into the wall. I don't think Jack London was quite so fortunate there. But I think Ross McGregor actually managed to avoid catapulting into the wall. But it did cost him a lot of positions. Number one of the Richardson Co BMWs getting past. That was Richardson. And so I think that was where we had the BMW 1, 2, 3, 4 was then formed. Then there was a little bit further out, Sam Dowman, who was being challenged by, it was Alan Smith that he was arguing with at the time. And Smith just had that momentum, superb exit from Clearways, which gave him that position. Another one of the Richards & Co BMWs. Well, it's Tom O'Leary making his way through the field. And the Lunark number 21, Luke Mitchell. This again is Jordan Richardson. Yeah, quite a decent battle. You see Zito Vaya right behind her. He was well inside the top 10 at this point. This is where second place changed place. So that is Dan Herlock. It was simply wrong-footed coming up into Paddock Hill Bend, but the tail of that BMW had been so loose, and that exuberant driving style backfiring on the RSR number 1 in the end. And another one of our side-by-sides, but this one not quite going to plan, as that did send Ben Willis off backwards into the wall. That was the moment Gianmarco Fiducci taking another one. So this is the official standings then before Stewart's intervention. Gianmarco Fiducci taking that top spot once more. Callan Cripps in second. Daniel Herlock third. Tom O'Leary in fourth. Dan Kell in fifth. Luke Mitchell in sixth. Cedar Vaya seventh. Jordan Richardson eighth. Phil Borby in ninth, with Matty Allington rounding out the top 10. As this is before any kinds of Stewart's intervention. So these are provisional at this point. Stephen McCready 11th. Adam Christopher 12th. Ross McGregor 13th. Callum Wilson 14th. Cameron Brewster in 15th. Sam Dowman in 16th. Alan Smith 17th. Ryan Elliott in 18th. Aaron Markham in 19th, with Ben Bennyworth rounding out the top 20. Lovely quarter-mass motorsport car. Bruno Reno, the last of the finishers, although we had a few that were a few laps down. Ben Willis retiring his car after losing the rear wing backwards into the wall at Paddock Hill Bend. Chris Shepherd coming home 22nd. Joao Belto 23rd. We lost Jack London following that kill accident. Sadly, both of the calamity cars didn't see the checker flag. Mitch Marie, an early victim of race number 2. So then, we await updates from production on how many of our top 12 will be reversed for race number 3. And yeah, Brands Hatch once again delivering the goods.
Of course, always. Brands Hatch being probably one of the more difficult tracks, especially the Indy version, to overtake, as we have seen quite a few times, a few of them going quite wrong, as we did spectate one of them earlier, landing on their roof. But it just serves good racing when it is cars like TCUKs. But I just think cars like GT cars, I feel like it's a tiny bit too big for Brands Hatch now, but they still serve brilliant racing around Brands Hatch, to say the least.
If they can race at Oulton Park, they can race at Brands Hatch. You want to talk about narrow? Yeah, you go to Oulton Park. I actually had my first visit to Oulton Park this year. It is fantastic. It's a great place to go.
I've never been able to be yet.
Oh, it's a brilliant place. It is a great place to go, and very, very much recommend going to Oulton Park. So let's have a look at who, for race number 3, is going to be running the option tyre. So anyone that hasn't run the option yet will be running it in race number 3. So that is Sam Dowman, Cameron Brewster, Gianmarco Fiducci, like he needs a tyre advantage. Mind you, it's been proven, for some cars, it has proven a disadvantage, so maybe he'll burn his out too quickly. Tom O'Leary, Ryan Elliott, Adam Christopher, Bruno Reno, Joao Belto, and Dan Kell. Oh, that's going to be interesting, considering how well Dan Kell's been starting. That's going to be really interesting to see what he can do on the soft tyres.
I'm sorry, I was trying to think of that then. But Fiducci as well, being on those soft tyres, I was thinking on how he could potentially manage it. I reckon... but I didn't think of... I keep forgetting about the reverse grid. If he was lucky enough to be in the position of P1, which is very doubtful, but it could still be the actual position he would be in. But if he was in that position, just push on lap 1 and just hopefully you create a bit of a gap for himself. But it's so unlikely that we'd be in that position. But on the soft tyres, if he's, let's say, P12, for example, he has such a big advantage compared to the rest of the drivers that are on those, obviously, the prime tyres, also known as the medium tyres. So we might be able to see him devour through the grid pretty quickly.
Now, I think, if I've read it right, the random grid element has been drawn. It looks like it's 9th. I thought it was going to be the even numbers, but it looks like the Random Grid Element has drawn number 9. So our top 9 competitors from race 2 will have their grid position reversed. So that will put Phil Morby into pole, Jordan Richardson alongside him, Cedar Via and Luke Mitchell on row 2, Dan Kell and Tom O'Leary row 3, Daniel Hurlock and Callan Cripps row 4, Gianmarco Fiducci and Matty Allington, who finished in 10th, will be row 5, and everyone else will start where they finished. So, well, that is going to be interesting to see how well that turns out. Gianmarco Fiducci then with quite a bit of traffic ahead of him, but this is why he would have opted to have the soft tyres on this third race. So knowing the random grid is going to be there, he's probably utilising his soft tyres at the time he'll need the grip the most. But then he's going to have quite a few really strong drivers ahead of him. We've seen how well some of them can defend. I'm looking at Dan Kell on that one.
You're not wrong with that at all.
So, yeah, it is going to be quite an interesting grid when we head over to it. So, as you can see, practice session running in the background. Oh, of course, Gianmarco Fiducci. Why not? He may well be the only one out there. So, oh no, well there you go. You can see them all coming out. So, session restarted. Drivers now joining, and then the grid is going to be formed. It's not the work of a moment to do that. So once all the drivers are in, then that random grid, the grid will have to be rebuilt because it is a new session in server. There's that glorious Ritters and Co livery. Plenty of sliding away. What is it with people getting these? BMW is a big old beast. It's not designed to drift.
It's because of the traction control. There's no traction control.
Oh, steer with the rear, like it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Drifting point is the only counting.
Okay. So we have got a secret drifting chart going on in the background.
Exactly.
Right? There, you heard it here first, folks. Right? Okay. You know, secret to the drivers. It hasn't been put in the official regulations, but it's there anyway. Like it.
There you
go. Great example of it not quite going well. That's Matty Allington getting the Ford into a bit of a slide. Well, Ford Focus, they are rally cars. So, tried to channel his inner Carlos Sainz. That's me showing my age, look. How many people say who? Bit of formation driving going on from the Richards pair at the bottom of the shot. Nicely done.
No, I'm not too
go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, with the new grid being set out with the top 9 being reversed, I reckon it's just going to be just as chaotic, if not more chaotic, than what we've seen previously, because obviously Fiducci now having an extra challenge to try and get past all of these drivers. But if he's able to score a hat-trick in today's races, we see that Honda's not supposed to be going that way, as that is a humongous crash. And we also do see then an Affinity trying to drift, but he is now going the wrong way.
I was going to say, you will be black flagged for doing that, sir. Oh, goodness me. So we're just waiting for the last of our drivers to rejoin the session. Obviously, those that are joining us for race number 3. Unfortunately, we have lost a couple of our drivers in the course of tonight's festivities. And Nathan Croak has called it a day. I believe Ross McGregor is not rejoining us, which is a bit of a shame, as he did have that somewhat unfortunate incident that caused him to exit stage, although he did avoid the wall from major impact. Gianmarco Fiducci, though, is still painting the tarmac with Pirelli. He just continues to lap unchallenged.
You got to respect the dedication, though.
Oh yeah, entirely. Looks like Ben Bennyworth won't be joining us. He has to go to work. So he's what on earth did he do to be okay? I appreciate that we do have an international driver lineup here. Not everybody is on British time, but imagine that sim racing before you go to work.
That is just such a dream, man. I would have always wanted to do that, but I always wake up maybe 10 minutes before I have to leave, so that's never going to happen for me.
I say I would tell you off for that, but me and the snooze button, we have a great relationship. Yeah, I could hibernate if I could, but As much as I actually enjoy my job, I enjoy my bed more.
Oh, like we all.
Yeah, amen to that.
Amen.
So once the last of our drivers have joined and then the grid is formed, then we will be getting our third and final race of the night underway. As we said, it is the top 9 finishing results from so that has been Matt Allington, who finished 10th in the last round. Has just missed out. I mean, someone's always going to just lose out, aren't they? There's always going to be one that is slightly wasn't able to get the spot they needed.
I think. Sorry, you go.
No, carry on.
Oh, what I was going to say though, I think with the unfortunate circumstances, I'm not sure how many drivers we have lost due to retirements now, but I think it could also be a bit of a blessing in terms of carnage, because obviously with the reverse grid as well, it's still a big grid to be fair. I'm not sure how many cars there are now in total. It's still going to be in the high 20s, if not low 20s. But that is still just so many cars for such a small track like Brands Hatch Indy. But it's just so good to see though, and we've seen such good racing throughout the last 2 races, and hopefully we can see the same going into the 3rd race, especially with now Fiduci having an extra challenge for him to try and potentially score a hat trick in today's round.
He's really trying to get that car to drift, isn't he?
He is, but he's the only one who's like failing.
He's just trying to chuck it in, but the tail is just not behaving itself. The problem is I end up doing that when I don't mean to do that. A grid is being formed. Right then. So, because that's clearly not Gianmarco Fiduci on the front row. Okay, so we will be getting this race underway very, very shortly. See the grid formed behind. I think they've done their rolling lap. The grid is formed, are they? No, they're about to do their rolling lap. Well, one of them is. Just the worrying moment when you move and nobody else does. Phil Morby must have thought, no, you were right.
That's wrong, yeah.
Yeah. Why am I the odd one out? So no, some people are a little bit more recalcitrant to move than others for some reason. But so Phil Morby then leading the field around to get this final race underway. We'll see what those that are running the soft tyre are able to do on this occasion. So the picture-in-picture is actually Gianmarco Fiduci, our double race winner, our current championship leader. We'll see then what it looks like from his perspective with 8 competitors ahead of him, not all of them on the same soft tyres as him. So he's going to have to work hard and utilise his tyre advantage potentially earlier than he would like. But we'll see how that transpires then. Some people are going to have some really are going to have a lot of pressure on them to utilise their defensive driving prowess. Now, some people may opt to decide, you know what, you're quicker than me, I'm just going to let you go. Or the racing instinct would kick in and, I'm defending this position, it is mine, which, they're perfectly entitled to do. There's nothing to say just because it's a reverse grid you have to let faster drivers through. There's nothing in the rules that says that. Some drivers may opt to do that to not to mitigate the loss of time. Oh, we see other people reversing as well. So there's a few people missing their grid spots. So then, grid is formed for the 3rd and final time tonight. Let us see then who is going to come out on top. Phil Morby on the front row alongside Jordan Richardson in that number 52 Vapor Shield car. His second race not going well, putting him towards the front. Then Cedar Via alongside Luke Mitchell. Away we go then. That's a disastrous start from Colonel, I think it was. They just didn't move at all. An absolutely cracking start though for Richardson. Outside line coming up into Paddock Hill. Ben cuts underneath Morby, does he? Well, he's certainly trying to as they come up the hill. He does nose into the lead. Does Richardson? Can Phil Morby do anything about it? He's trying to outbrake the Honda coming up into Droz, but doesn't win that particular battle. Richardson leads. Morby second, Via third. No, one of the RSR BMWs up there into third. Oh, that's a bit of a bounce there for Morby. Lots of dust being kicked up there from pretty much everybody at this particular point. So Phil Morby in the tyre tracks of Jordan Richardson as they come up to the clearways for the first time. Oh, and that's a big old drift. Pseudo Via had to take avoiding action there. Mike, I thought that was going to be a horrendous accident, but they managed to survive. Richardson from Morby, from Via, your top 3.
Morby, hats off to him to be able to save that car, but his tyres are definitely going to be flat spot to say the least now. Still in the same order that we saw from lap 1, but now we do see that it's going to be the RSR car as well behind him, trying to just get ever so closer there. Richardson already pulling about a 6/10 gap going on into Druids. Now, as we do see, there is a yellow flag there. It does seem to be just a very, very short yellow flag to say the least. Again, we just see all of the cars just taking as much grass as they can, it seems. But it does seem now we do see the Brabham Esports car of the Toyota of Ouija trying to look for a move on Morby, going through the inside line there, going through now into Clark's curve. But it does seem he gets the move done. But will that be the case for the entirety of this race? I'm not too sure at the moment. As it does seem he's get the slipstream again, Morby. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get it going in. It's going to be very optimistic if he tries it, but he does just once again do the sensible option and just waits for next time.
So Phil Morby then now having to play defensive against Dan Hurlock, the current champion in the RSR BMW, the lead of our Beamers. And then you see O'Leary and Mitchell side by side coming up into Druids at the top of the shot. So Mitchell having a look at the inside line coming down towards Graham Hill Bend. Can he do it? We will see when they come into shot. They were side by side as they came out alongside Christopher as well in the lead of the Quartermass cars. So they were 3 wide coming up to what? And it was the Quartermass car that came out on top. Very nicely done, Adam Christopher, up into 7th position there. More fighting further down the field. So Gianmarco Fiducci up into 8th position then. Oh my goodness. A big lunge on the inside line from Dan Hurlock to try and get past Phil Morby. Oh, and that was a big moment that I don't think Morby meant to cut that hard to the inside line. I think he just caught the grass there, the sand rather, that pitched him towards that inside line. Now here comes the lead of the Richardson Co cars. That's Tom O'Leary trying to challenge Phil Morby. Doesn't quite do it on this occasion. Now Phil Morby trying to defend the inside line. Coming up towards Surtees. Fends off the advances of Tom O'Leary for now.
Richardson have a pretty easy result so far, now having an 8/10 gap, and it will only increase at this rate. As we do see now the Richardson co-car now trying to put pressure on Morby, as you're just saying now, as we go on into Brabham Street. Now he is all over the rear of him. It looks like he's going to try to go into Paddock Hill Bend now. If it's going to work, that's a different question, but it does seem he tries to go for a bit of a switchback there. It does work as he goes side by side going into Druids now. He is going to have the inside line. There's a bit of contact between them both, but it is just friendly for the time being. He tries to take the inside line there again, Morby, but there was no inside line to take. And we do see that is going to be the Richard & Co. car of Tom O'Leary going up into P4 and now trying to chase down Daniel Hurlock in P3 in the RSR car.
Yeah, good move. Also, the picture-in-picture is showing Gianmarco Fiducci getting past Adam Christopher up into 6th place now. Oh, that's wide for Morby. That's going to potentially cost him momentum coming out of clearways. Down towards the start-finish rate once again. He's got Gianmarco Fiducci on his tail. At the bottom of the shot, that's Dan Hurlock challenging second from Cedo Fire and does manage to get the inside line coming up into Paddock Hill Bend and wrestles that second place from the Toyota of the Brabham Esports number 2 car. So very much, and a big old drift on the Acer. You show off. Coming out of Druids. Tom O'Leary immediately on the case of Cedo Fire. So to try and demote the Brabham car out of the top 3, he's got the inside line. Can the Brabham car do anything about it? He just didn't have the momentum coming out of Graham Hill Bend and has to concede that podium spot. Oh, bit of a slide there from Fire, and manages just about to hold on to his car. And in the background you see Gianmarco Fiducci getting alongside Phil Morby, getting ahead of Phil Morby on the exit of Clark Curve. So that's the Italian now up into 5th.
And this is where Fiducci needs to be careful, because obviously him being on those soft tyres, what we saw in obviously race 1, I forgot who the driver was, but his tyres, yeah, Hurlock, just his tyres died so quickly, and I'm having a bit of a moment thinking Fiducci might have the same issue, and seeing how hard he's actually pushing, going up into P5 now and just taking chunks of time now out of wire, going into now lap 8 in the next few corners or so.
It could well be. I think that Dan Hurlock had such a loose setup in his car. He was sliding all over the place and just destroyed his soft tyres. We saw how loose his car was in race 2. Flash of the lights there from Fiducci. That's not you. You're not coming up to lap Cedo Fire. He does not have to get out of your way. He can challenge you all he likes. Look at the top 3 all glued together. all arguing for their own bit of real estate. That's Dan Herlock on the inside line of Jordan Richardson, with Tom O'Leary trying to follow through and gets a bit of a hip check for it. Fiducci has gone past Cito Vaya for 4th position. He's less than 2 seconds behind this battle, so he'll be with it very, very soon. Look at Jordan Richardson trying to find a way through on Dan Herlock, who's now taken the lead over. Can't quite do it on this occasion. It's BMW, Honda, BMW, Toyota for your top 5. Tom O'Leary, can he get past Jordan Richardson? He's had a good exit from Clearways. Now coming across the line, Jordan Richardson takes the racing line as Tom O'Leary takes the inside line. Who's going to win out here? The Honda just remains ahead.
The Honda being such a vulnerable car at the moment, as now we can see it's going to go again. It's now Tom O'Leary in the Richardson Co. BMW trying to go for the inside line going into Drew. It's not trying, he has done it, and now it does seem he goes promoted up into P2 there now for the Richardson Co. BMW, but we do see it's not over yet, as we do see now Fiducci up into P4 looking to put some pressure now on Richardson to get this position done to make it a top 3 for BMW now as we go in to what is going to be McLaren, as it does seem he gained so much time there under braking there for GC as we go on into now Brabham Straight for the potentially the 9th or 10th time. I've kind of lost count.
Yeah, again, you can flash your lights, so Marco Fiducci. Jordan doesn't have to get out of your way. But that's exactly what he doesn't do. But Richardson bounces very heavily off the apex of Paddock Hill Bend. That's given just enough momentum to Gianmarco Fiducci. You do not need to give him any advantage. He'll find his own as he gets through up into 3rd position now. Tom O'Leary and Dan Herlock already locked in battle for the lead. But again, is Gianmarco Fiducci taking too much out of his tyres? I'm not sure he is. He seems to be just utilising that tyre advantage. Doesn't seem to be overdriving his car. But we know how heavily those soft tyres fall away. We will see how well Gianmarco Fiducci can hold on to this incredible pace that he's displaying. There's Jordan Richardson with Cito Vaya slightly falling off the back of him. But looking at the picture-in-picture, you can see the 2 BMWs ahead of him side by side. Tom O'Leary has managed to get the lead from Dan Herlock. So it's a BMW top 3. Gianmarco Fiducci now less than a second from that top spot.
It's just getting so close now as Fiducci is just shaving time out of Herlock now, as obviously these 2 drivers fighting now, as it does seem actually Tom O'Leary has created a tiny bit more of a breathing space than he was originally now, but Fiducci having his opportunity to try and get past Dan Herlock for P2 now going into McLaren and Clark's curve now, as we do see he is going to be able to be all over the rear there, and we will see potentially what he was able to do with Richardson earlier and try to use the slipstream to his advantage. Again, flashing, as you're saying earlier, does not need to give up this position. Maybe just trying to apply a tiny bit of pressure to the driver ahead of him, which would be Dan Herlock. There as he goes side by side, he tries to, is he going to try to do under braking? Yes, he is going into Drew. He's going to have the inside line, which is going to put Dan Herlock in such a vulnerable position, losing him the position, and now we do see now Fiducci going up into P2 provisionally.
That seems to be his favourite overtaking spot is the inside line of Druids. And yet again, that BMW from Dan Herlock looks so loose. That tail is just determined to let go on him at any given opportunity. Yet, whatever secret it is that Fiducci has mastered, is just keeping his car planted to the ground. So only Tom O'Leary separates the Italian from that top spot, looking to make it the perfect race night of all 3 wins in the same session, but we'll see if he's able to do it. That Richardson Co. BMW will not be easy to overtake at all. Slightly behind this Beamer Brigade, Jordan Richardson, Cito Vaya, they are not quite locked in the battle. There's about 8 tenths between the Honda and the Toyota, but Cito Vaya still in a potential position to challenge Jordan Richardson for that 4th place. See then how that transpires. So O'Leary from Fiducci, from Herlock, your top 3.
Now we do see Fiducci again just shaving time out of every driver in his sight, but this is where he will start seeing a drop off in his tyre performance, as we are now technically at the halfway stage as we go on to the other RSR car now of what's going to be Elliot and Dan Kell, both going on for position. I'm not sure that is the RSR car, actually. I might have got that wrong. Actually, as we go into Paddock Hill Bend now, he is still going to be behind, but we have seen Dan Kell in the both races earlier just being such a good car in defending and such a good car in attacking. So it is just going to be such a balanced race between these two now. He will be able to come out victorious and take the position of P6.
Yeah, that is indeed Ryan Elliott in the RSR BMW, the number 66 car, challenging Dan Kelly, who had an absolutely horrendous start, just didn't move, but the rest of the field came past him, so has managed to either work his way back to or hang on to 6th position, with Via and Ritterson now very close together, just up ahead of them. So it's 2 by 2 by 2, is right behind Elliott and Cal is Wilson and Christopher having their own fight, as that's a relatively easy move for Ryan Elliott on the inside line on the way up to the braking zone for Paddock Hill. Ben gets that position from Dan Cal. Well, Fiducci hasn't wrestled the lead away from Tom O'Leary yet, so it's still Richards & Co. that hold on to that top spot from Veloci at the moment. How well can Tom O'Leary defend against that charging Gianmarco Fiducci? We will see, as Dan Herlock has probably overcooked his tires already. Look at this group here, my word. That is quite a collection of cars. Whoop, that is Stefan McCready that is leading this particular brigade. So that is 13th, right the way down to 20th, to 19th, beg your pardon, in this particular group. I think it's all possibly 19th. It's Jack London, I think, that's at the back of this group. That is a potential move. Is that for Matt Allington? Side by side, you've got the grass. Oh, he kept his foot in it. Someone's had their bravery pills this morning. Gives a bit of a hip check to McCready on the way down to the braking zone of Paddock Hill Bend. Inside line for McCready, and that just about keeps the position in his hands. Allington will have to think again. Then Smith Rayno. Oh my goodness, that's Callum Cripps almost forced onto the grass in the one BMW. Oh no, there's impact that sent the Richards & Co BMW into the wall. Oh no, that you never want to see it. So that's Callum Cripps. His race brought to a somewhat dramatic end.
Oh, it's so unfortunate to see stuff like that happen. But going back on board now for the fight for the lead, it's going to be Fiducci and Tom O'Leary, both in those BMW 3 Series, both of them being on the soft compounded tyres. They both need to be careful on how much they use it, because we can see Dan Herlock just behind them, just 3 seconds behind them. So it isn't that much between them both. And if they both burn their tyres out, it's going to be a pretty easy win for Dan Herlock. So they need to just take that into consideration when battling with each other. It doesn't seem Fiducci has any intention to get by just yet. But now I say that, he does like to do a move going into McLaren and the McLean there, as we do see that is going to be a Ford going off there into what I can only assume is McLaren.
No, that's true. It's Allington, I think, that has gone off to explore the countryside. That's a great shame for him. He was involved in this big pack that was being led, what is now being led by, I believe, Jack London. So a bit of a shame, a great shame for him. Fiducci has still not managed to get past Tom O'Leary, so the Richards & Co BMW still giving the Italian, the Veloci runner, everything to work towards. There's either Gianmarco Fiducci just biding his time, maybe saving the life in his tyres, or just has yet to find a way through, or they get very close on the run-up to clearways through McLaren. They go as that. Look at the argument in the picture-in-picture still going on. That group may have fragmented a little bit, but still giving very, very intense racing. Look at Fiducci, though, still trying to wrong foot Tom O'Leary coming up into Paddock Hill once again. Still, Richards & Co from Veloci at this point in time with 6 laps to go.
This is when we start seeing Fiducci starting to become a bit more impatient, making a bit more, let's say, silly moves. But we also see in the picture-in-picture, it's going to go side by side between the Cupras. And now we do see going into Brabham straight, it is going to still go side by side. It's going to be civil, but the Ford of Dankela, I believe it is, still going to be able to keep the position, but it's still going to go side by side going after Paddock Hill. Ben going into Druids. It's going to be the inside line there for the Cooper, I believe it is. No, that's the Ford, actually. Sorry, I just can't see that well, as it does seem he gets the move done, but Dan Cal potentially trying to get this move back done as quickly as he can, but it doesn't seem he's going to be able to just yet.
That's McCready and Smith, I think. McCready, Smith, and Marie all in that fight. So it's now three-way argument for 15th position. Oh, that's a punch in the face from, I think that was it Marie that was having that argument? And that's it. That's someone into the pits. Well, you can't park there, sir. So, oh dear, that's Stefan McCready's race coming to an abrupt end. That's a great shame for him, because he was really leading that group so well for such a long period of time. Another three-way fight going on here. So that is Christopher, Shepherd, and Brewster in their argument for 9th place. Oh, is Shepherd having a look on the inside of Adam Christopher in the quartermaster car? Not quite. Can't get the move done. Fiducci thinks about a maneuver on the outside of Druids. You saw how much he locked up, had to get the BMW back under control. Was heavy braking, just 4 laps remaining. He hasn't got long. He probably hasn't got an awful lot of tyres left either. Both of these two breaking away to the tune of 7 seconds from Dan Hurlock, who in turn is another 5 seconds ahead of Richardson, so he's got nothing to worry about. Unlike Adam Christopher fending off the advances of Shepherd, who in turn is fending off Callum Brewster. So a fabulous 3-way fight here for 9th place between the Cupra, a pair of Cupras, and the Infinity.
You can actually see now Adam Christopher still being able to claim his position of P9, but for how long is we do see now Shepherd just trying to look for the move going through Clark's curve. Now it isn't going to work just yet. Can he get some good exit speed? It doesn't seem he can, but we can also see now the Cupra of what is going to be Phil Morby trying to get the move done as well. But now we do see it's just going to be a slipstream game here for the Infinity, as we do see Adam Christopher blocking off the inside line as much as he can now going into Paddock Hill Bend. So we do see the Cupra just taking a bit of a shortcut there going into Paddock Hill Bend, but it does seem it's not going to help him at all. But we do see it's still going to be rough between these two cars now. Shepherd just trying to get the move done as quickly as he can, but it's not going to work for him just yet. Going back on board with the leader now, as we do see it's going to be Tom O'Leary still in the lead of this fight, and he has done an absolutely brilliant job so far to keep Fiduci out of the lead spot that is now currently his. But we do see Fiduci just trying to put so much pressure on the Tom O'Leary for P1 now, but it's still just not working. But he's going to have to start to think a bit more outside of the box now for Fiduci to try and get this move done.
Very much so. He's really pushing Tom O'Leary hard, so much so I'm not sure he's got an awful lot of tyres left. You're seeing the Italian just running wide on a few corners with a picture-in-picture. That is Shepherd. That's going onto the grass on the inside line, coming up towards Druids. Well, 3 wide going through Druids. Doesn't usually work for the one on the outside, and it didn't work for Callum Brewster either. But it was a fair effort, though, as the lead pair come across the line to start the final lap. Tom O'Leary is still leading. Gianmarco Fiduci is now on nothing. Do or die, feast or famine. Can the Velotti driver make it 3 for 3, or will he have to concede that win to Tom O'Leary? And we'll have only a few corners left to find out.
Juicy just getting so impatient now. He wants this hat-trick so badly, but he's just so shy off getting it as it stands so far. Tom O'Leary just having a few corners, as you just said, to become victorious for race 3, but for Juicy wanting this so bad might try to do something a bit silly going in to the final corners now, as we do see he isn't going to do it too bad. Can we see any sort of exit speed difference here between Fiduci and Tom O'Leary? No, we are not, and we're going to see Tom O'Leary take the streak of Fiduci's to win here, and we do see Tom O'Leary becoming champion, well, not champion, but victorious for race 3 here, followed there by Fiduci and Daniel Hurlock there rounding out the top 3.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. The champion's been declared, but Callum Brewster on the outside line. Oh, Shepherd. Well, that's an easy run to 9th for Christopher, and Shepherd's bowed out of it. So a great move there. Last do-or-die run for Callum Brewster to claim his spot inside the top 10 from Shepherd. My goodness me, that got very close between Toadsy. There is Dan Hurlock giving a flash of the lights to race winner Tom O'Leary in celebration. So it was Tom O'Leary from Gianmarco Fiduci, Dan Hurlock in 3rd, with Jordan Richardson 4th, Dan Kell in 5th, Callum Wilson in 6th, Ryan Elliott 7th, Cedar Vaya coming home in 8th in the end, with Adam Christopher 9th, Callum Brewster rounding out the top 10 with Chris Shepherd 11th, Jack London 12th, Art Polson and Phil Morby in 13th, then Bruno Reno 14th, Matty Marie in 15th with Alan Smith 16th, Callum Cripps 17th, Matty Allington following his very dramatic exit from the circuit up Druids, finishing in 18th with Dowman in 19th. We lost along the way McCready, Markham, Mitchell, Willis and Belto. What a race, and what a way to round out now the official opening round of this season.
What a great way to start the season. It has just been non-stop action here at Brands Hatch, and I hope for the same going into what I believe is Silverstone National next.
Oh, what a great circuit to well, any circuit is going to be good to continue the season with. These TCR cars can race pretty much anywhere with fantastic results ahead. So we've got some replays to enjoy before we round out tonight's festivities. So this was the start that you've got Jordan Richardson on the outside of row 2. That was a horrible start from Dan Kelly. Lost so many positions to begin with. Plummeting down through the field. But then it was Phil Morby with Richardson, then Cito Vaya, all giving it plenty of sideways. Then it was Luke Mitchell in the purple and white number 21 Infinity. Everybody started to find their own bit of real estate. That was Morby and Vaya along with Dan Herlock. Then all in third. That was the big move for the Brabham car, getting the inside line through clearways, giving a bit of a hip check to Phil Morby in the Drake Racing Cupra. And a little bit further down the field, one of the RSR BMWs almost taken to the grass to try and get his way past Phil Morby, and then does take to the grass. That was Dan Herlock. As tried as he may, did Phil Morby to defend that particular spot, almost lost 2 positions, and then eventually had to succumb to the advances of Tom O'Leary a little bit further on. The Virtus & Co BMW getting up another spot at Phil Morby's expense. There you had Gianmarco Fiducci in his relentless march through the field at the top of the shot. Just saw at the bottom there. There we go. With the camera pans round. That was Cito Vaya losing. That's, I believe, was second place at the time to Dan Herlock. So the Brabham car succumbing to another one of the Richards and Co BMWs slightly later on. That was Tom O'Leary making his way through, and he on his flirt with the grass as well. A big slide there from Cito Vaya in the Brabham flavoured Toyota, sorry. A little bit further on, you had Jordan Richardson. He just had no answer to the soft shot BMW, and just threw his way through on the inside line of Druids to Tom O'Leary. That was Gianmarco Fiducci just managing to pressure Jordan Richardson into a bit of a mistake. The Honda just hit that apex at Paddock Hill Bend a little bit too hard, costing the momentum against the Veloci branded car. Through another position, Gianmarco Fiducci went. This was Dan Herlock losing out then. Look at that very dramatic driving style of the champion, just burning his tyres out. But again, both of the BMWs around him were soft shot. He really had no opportunity to defend against these two. And this was how it finished between Tom O'Leary and Gianmarco Fiducci. A flash of the lights and respect from the Italian to round out festivities here. So this is, again, provisional results from race 3. Tom O'Leary taking the top spot from Gianmarco Fiducci. Daniel Herlock 3rd. Jordan Richardson 4th. Daniel Kell in 5th. Callum Wilson 6th. Ryan Elliott 7th. Cito Vaya in 8th. Adam Christopher in 9th, with Callum Brewster rounding out the top 10. Chris Shepherd in 11th. Jack London 12th. Phil Morby 13th. Bruno Reno 14th. Mitch Marie in 15th. Alan Smith 16th. Callum Cripps in 17th, Maddie Allington in 18th, Sam Dowman in 19th. We lost along the race Stefan McCready. Such a shame, he was involved in that wonderful pack. We lost Aaron Markham, Luke Mitchell, Ben Willis, and Joel Belto. And that is going to round out festivities for this incredible opening round of this Touring Car League. So we very much thank those that have been with us either live or those catching up with this post-event. We very much enjoy your company. We head, as you can see, to the international layout of Silverstone in 2 weeks' time on the 26th of June. We very much hope you will join us then. Thank you very much to Alan Newman for joining me in the commentary box. A great pleasure to co-commentate this league with you, good sir.
Great to commentate the league with you. I hope, obviously, we do have a what's it called? Thruxton. Well, no, not Thruxton, sorry. My brain is going absolutely insane here. Silverstone coming up next, but thank you very much, Ryan, as well, behind the scenes, doing all of the spectacular camera work on his too many PCs.
And again, thank you very much to our drivers for putting on a fantastic show. And we will, we hope to see you all next time for Silverstone. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.